Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Friday night healing meditation. I'm excited to share that Kashi is joining us this evening, and she's going to lead us in a meditation and sort of a discussion on forbearance. So that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. Before that, I have a couple of announcements to share, a few more than usual. So, beginning next week, we're going to be offering a workshop about exploring meditation for the 4 Fridays in March. So, if you want to participate in the workshop, or if you normally call into our Friday night gatherings, you'll need to get a special Zoom link for next week and for all the 4 Fridays in March. So, you may have received, you might want to look in your email box, your inbox, to see if you got an email from us today. And if you didn't, you can go to our website. I'll give you the exact address and I'll put it in the chat box in a little bit. So it's awakeyogameditation.org/explore. So that is the page that has the information about the March workshop. And you can register there. And once you register, you'll get an email with the special Zoom code so you can participate in March. If you're joining us via Zoom this evening and have any kind of question or challenge during the evening, if you hover over the chat box and click that, you'll see that there's a little message area. You can send a message to the host and we'll do our best to help you. And also, if you lose the video image sometime tonight on Zoom, if you look at your computer's navigation bar, there's a blue icon with a white movie camera. If you click that, you'll get the video to come back. And also, I just want to say that we're definitely confirmed that we will be joining like this, gathering on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook through the end of April on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, except the Fridays in March will not be on YouTube and Facebook. They'll just be offered through Zoom. So I think that is everything I have to share with you right now, and I'm excited to welcome Kashi.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to our Friday night healing meditation. I'm super, super excited about tonight's meditation subject. In a second, you'll see on your screen our schedule for the evening. So we'll open up with the Gayatri mantra and move into a solid meditation before diving into our meditation talk on forbearance. And we'll close with the prayer of perfection, which I'm thrilled about because I just love that prayer. So you'll see the Gayatri Mantra on your screen, and please feel free to read it from the screen if you don't know it by heart. And if you know it by heart, you can close your eyes and connect with your heart and allow it to flow from your heart. Let us meditate on the glory of that effulgent reality from whom the whole universe is projected. May that radiance enlighten our hearts, minds, and lives. Amen. If we haven't already done so, we can seat ourselves in the meditation posture with our feet planted firmly on the earth, on the ground, wherever we are, our palms open on the thighs, the spine direct, the chin tucked back just slightly. Here we greet ourselves. We can imagine that we are planting our feet into the ground, all four corners of the feet, connecting with stability, steadiness, support. And imagine that there are portals of light in the feet, and allow a river of light to flow up the feet, up the legs to the base of the spine. And allow it to flow up the spine to the spiritual eye and the center of the forehead. And let's bring our attention to the heart. In fact, we can place our hands together in prayer at the heart. And imagine here, there is an upturned flower. And see it peeling, see the petals opening. And as they open, allow love to flow. As the flower expands, so too does the love. Sometimes it can be helpful as a way to ignite or to jumpstart this sentiment that is the only thing that exists within everything. Sometimes it's helpful to bring to mind something that we adore. It could be a person, it could be a pet, it could be a memory. Allow it to ignite, to spark the adoration that is here, that's with us always. And once we've allowed that spark to ignite within our heart, we can allow the image to wash away. And just let that love fill you. Really see it flowing, this light of love from the heart. Allow it to fill your feet. Allow it to fill your legs, your torso, your chest. Allow it to flow down your shoulders, down your arms, through your fingertips, to fill your throat, to fill your head. And notice what it feels like when we fill ourselves with love. Expand it now beyond your body to the room where you're sitting, to the building where you are, to flow beyond even that to the city where you live, or the town where you live. Allow it to fill the world. And bringing our attention again to the spiritual eye, the center of the forehead, we can recite the mantra, divine grace, illumine us. Divine grace, illumine us. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, through death to immortality. Amen. And I invite everybody to join me in this prayer that I offer on behalf of us all. I offer my reverence and salutations unto God, Christ, gurus, to all deities, all gods, all sages, all savants, all lovers of God in all times and all lands. To you all I bow in my soul. You are all manifestations of the one infinite spirit, omniscient, omnipresent, all blissful reality. To you all I pray. Inspire me with the blessing of wisdom. Awaken me to the realization of immortality and bliss, that I may realize I am the absolute self. Amen. Amen. All right, so our topic tonight is forbearance. And I have a couple of stories that I'll share. They're all true stories, just things that I've collected along the way. And the first story is about Porna. So she gave me permission to share this story, by the way. The other day, she was exercising in our living room. She was strength training, and I could see her struggling a bit. Porna does not like to exercise. This isn't a secret. She does it because it's good for her to do. And I can see all of this in her face as she's exercising. And she says to me, instead of watching me, how about helping me, right? Give me an intention or something. Give me something to work with. So I've been meditating on this intention, this here. It's been hanging on my wall for a few years now, and it's an intention from Swami Nityananda. And it reads, I vow to practice forbearance in the midst of the most adverse circumstances, knowing that all things work for the good of them that love God. So I asked the light of love within me, I said, what would you like to say about forbearance? And then my eyes went directly to this intention that was hanging on my wall. So when Porna's exercising and she's asking me about an intention to support her practice, this is the intention that comes to my mind. It's, I vow to practice forbearance in the midst of the most adverse circumstances, knowing that all things work for the good of them that love God. And when she heard the intention, she kind of like pouted and stomped, and she's like, oh man, like it's always that one, right? It's always forbearance. And we got a good belly laugh out of that. And so we'll begin tonight with Porna's insight. It's always forbearance, right? Every moment is an opportunity to practice forbearance. So there are a few ways that we can use the word forbearance, but as a spiritual quality, as Krishna calls it in the Bhagavad Gita when he's speaking to Arjuna, forbearance is equipoise, it's steadiness, composure, self-mastery in the midst of adverse circumstances, in the face of provocation. So we can think of spiritual qualities like a treasure chest within each of us. It's within me, it's within you, it's within all, right? So the treasure is there, but a key is required to access it. So the light of love within each of us gives us that key when we are devoted to the light of love, right? So another way of looking at it, and I'm saying the exact same thing, but from a different vantage point, another perspective. We've all heard that everything is energy, right? And that energy exists in two forms. So there's the potential and there's the kinetic. So potential energy is energy that's stored, right? It's kind of like that treasure chest. It's a storage system that exists in a state of potentiality. So it can be unlocked with the right key. It can be unlocked with the right key. And kinetic energy is the energy of motion. It's potential energy unleashed. And in order to move from the potential to the kinetic, some kind of force is required. We need some kind of key to unlock the potential that exists. And so the force, if you will, that moves the potential of spiritual qualities into the kinetic. And when I'm saying into the kinetic, I mean into a lived experience, into the energy of those spiritual qualities in motion in our lives, right? The force that brings that into being is devotion, right? It's devotion. And it's the same way with the key. It's surrendering to the light of love. So the potential exists within all of us to live out loud forbearance, to live it out loud. The potential exists within each of us to live out loud all of the spiritual qualities that Krishna shares with Arjuna. So these treasures, they're unlocked when we're in communication, when we're in communion with the light of love inside of us. The spiritual qualities belong to the light of love, and they're gifted to us from the light of love. Forbearance is not a human trait. None of these spiritual qualities are human traits. So if we're in the practice of equipoise, of steadiness, of patience in the midst of adverse circumstances, it means that we're staying centered in the heart. It means that we have centered ourselves in true, unchanging love. And we're allowing those spiritual qualities to flow, to move, to live, to breathe through us kinetically in motion, right? And so Krishna, he says that forbearance, along with all of those other spiritual qualities, which if you're interested are in chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, he says that those things lead to freedom. He says that it leads to freedom. So when I read that, I said to the light of love within myself, I said, freedom from what? Right? I just directed my question to the heart, and the response rises from the heart. And this is what I think. This is what rose up for me. I think that what Krishna is saying is that forbearance frees us from the illusion of being bound. So forbearance frees us from the illusion of limitation, of confinement, because freedom, limitlessness, boundlessness, spaciousness is our true nature, right? That is the nature of this light of love, which is the only thing. So the practice of forbearance, existing in the consciousness of it, it helps us to recognize that. It helps us to live it kinetically. It becomes motion in our lives, right? So this gift that we're giving from the light of love is given to us when we're in communion with the light of love. I looked up the root of the word provocation, right? To be self-mastered in the face of provocation. What is provocation? What is it? So I looked up the root of it. It's a Latin word, provocare, and it means to call forth. It means to challenge. So in those moments when we are allowing ourselves to be provoked by conditions outside or internally, if we allow ourselves to rise up off of our seat of composure, it's kind of like we're calling forth reactivity. We're calling forth the illusion of being bound by limitation. And we bring it into form, this is the thing, through our identification with it. So we allow conditions to dictate our actions, our responses, our thoughts, and our habits when we move from that space of reactivity. And then we feel confined by conditions in our lives, by circumstances in our lives, and we're less focused on the divine love, on the light of the heart, from which all things flow, right? All of these spiritual qualities flow from love. Their very essence is love. And so all sorts of things in our human experiences can be called provocations, can call forth, working with this idea of calling something forth, it can call forth this illusion of being bound. So if we look at Purna's story again, when she was exercising, she felt discomfort, right? Which provoked or called forth this desire to quit, to shut down, to contract, which we all know. This is a normal human experience, right? When we're uncomfortable as humans, sometimes we think it means stop. We think it means no more, X, time out, I quit. And so that thought, quit, that type of contraction of this is too hard, I cannot do this, I can't do this. That's a form of reactivity. It's a provocation. And so once we identify with it, if we roll with it and we believe the hype, if we believe the noise, the mental chatter, then we can call forth this illusion of being bound, of being limited. And we really feel limited. Like, it's a true thing. I have had moments where I have felt really limited because I have identified with the thought in my head that told me I could not, right? It becomes hard to do. And so what I say to myself now is that it's not about not wanting to quit. It's not about not wanting to give up when something feels really hard, because as humans, we all have those moments where things feel incredibly challenging, right? What it's about is how we greet that energy within us when it shows up. Do we crumble under the weight of that fear? Do we contract? Do we quit? Or do we connect with the heart? Do we connect with that endless energy of forward motion that is the only thing? Okay, so the energy of forward motion is also the energy of pure love. It's the energy of the heart. And so what we're invited to do is to reside in spaciousness. Forbearance lives in spaciousness. There is space. I am the witness. I don't have to identify or attach. The self-composed human is the human who has figured out how to live in the spaciousness of divine love, how to live in the consciousness of pure love, how to live as the witness of everything that arises, that can love everything that arises. Now, isn't that something? To love everything that arises? What a thing. What a thing. So discomfort itself, it's neutral. We can be uncomfortable and we can still be composed. We can still be in the practice of self-mastery. We can still be in communion with the light of the heart. So I think this is what Purna was acknowledging when she asked for help. Help. We can ask the heart for help. And that is an example of being in communion with love in real life, in real time. In this life, there will be discomfort. There will be adverse circumstances, provocations, plenty of opportunities to practice forbearance. That's how it is. And whatever path we walk in these lives, love's there. Freedom is there. It's right there holding our hand. Krishna tells us that the practice of forbearance, it leads to freedom. The freedom of steadiness, of self-control, of being rooted and unmoved by condition, by circumstance, hopping off the hamster wheel of duality. We can be steady and we can be true and we can be connected with our heart. We can be connected with love, whatever comes. It's not actually what shows up that matters. It's how we show up that matters. So I believe that it's totally possible to meet every moment, whatever the moment brings, with grace. I truly believe that. I believe that it's totally possible to meet every moment in the consciousness of infinite spaciousness. I truly believe that. I believe that it's possible to meet every moment in the consciousness of pure love. I truly believe that. We can be weeping. Our heart can be breaking into a million pieces, and we can still be in the practice of forbearance. So forbearance it has nothing to do with what it looks like, what the senses can interpret. This is heart work. This is the work of the inner landscape, right? So how do we practice it when we're uncomfortable? How can we practice being steady, being patient, being self-composed when things don't go our way? When life throws us curveballs, what do? So I recently experienced a number of health issues, which I've talked about before. And during that time, I was in a lot of physical pain. And I was in a lot of physical pain, not for a short amount of time. It was almost a year. So I was totally uncomfortable. And a part of what I was going through at the time made it really difficult. It was painful, actually, for me to walk. So whenever I would walk, I experienced like just excruciating pain. Everything would hurt. And in order to improve my condition, my doctor told me that I had to walk. As painful as it was, I had to move forward, right? So I was being invited to find a way to move beyond my discomfort, to move beyond my circumstances. So these are some steps that I practiced during that time to help me live in the consciousness of forbearance, even as I was moving through an adverse circumstance, like something incredibly humanly challenging. So the first step, the very first thing I did was I accepted what is. And I'll be honest, my mind was super aware of the difference between when I was feeling well and when I was not feeling well. I was aware of that, okay? Meaning that there was the possibility of complaint, there was the possibility of frustration, there was the possibility of loss, of pushing against change, of feeling that something had been taken away from me. All of that was possible, like it is for all of us. But what I chose to do was to connect with my heart. And I said, thy will be done, even in my discomfort. Even though I don't know why I am experiencing this, I'm going to stay centered in my heart. And I'm going to greet my discomfort with love. I'm going to greet everything that comes with love. That's my choice. And so once I decided, I'm going to accept what is, right? The second step, I asked the light of love within me for peace beyond circumstances, beyond conditions. I didn't ask to be better physically. I didn't ask for anything except for an opening of my heart, an opening of my heart. So the second step is grant me peace, not product, meaning grant me something that is lasting. Peace is permanent. Things will rise, things will fall, peace will remain, right? And then there are two other steps that helped me to practice forbearance. And maybe they'll help you too. Step 3. So even though I was choosing love, even though I was choosing forbearance, thoughts that could provoke anger, if I chose to go there, if I chose to identify them, they would still rise up, right? But what I would do is offer that to the light of love too. Even thoughts that look like less than love, I chose to connect to the love within me, the goodness within me, the light within me, the strength that is within me, and that is within all, right? So now we're talking about spiritual honesty. Now we're talking about spiritual honesty. We get to be honest about what's happening in here internally. So I've had moments in my life where on the outside, I'm looking calm, I'm looking cool as a cucumber. But on the inside, I'm breaking down. or I'm having a temper tantrum, right? I think all humans have experienced this. I call this the simmer beneath the surface. It's not forbearance. It's not self composure. If it's anything at all, it's good muscle control. Meaning we can manipulate the muscles in our face to hold a serene posture. We can manipulate the tone of our voice to articulate our words in a certain way, but it does not change the truth of confusion that's raging inside of us. So, what heals that is being honest about what's really going on in here, in this inner plane, right? And then offering all of that back to the light of love again and again and again and again. Like this is the dance, and again and again, right? We're also talking about discernment. So, in order to practice spiritual honesty about what's going on inside of us, we got to be able to discern between what is real and what is dross, right? What is real is love. Anything that's saying anything other than love is dross. Toss it into the flame of the heart. Toss it in. Toss it all. Good, bad, otherwise. Give it all to the light of love. Don't hold on to anything. If you have something that feels like really amazing, offer that to the light of love. If you're experiencing something that sucks, it's the opposite of amazing, offer that to the light of love, right? Offer it. So step 3 is discernment and spiritual honesty, offering it to the heart. And then the 4th step that I practiced during this time is responsiveness, right? So as we are in the practice of being in communion with the light of love, of sitting as self-composure, the light of love speaks. The heart speaks. Spaciousness speaks, and you will be guided just as I was guided. The inspiration will show up. The guidance will show up, right? It showed up for me, but it was on me to take action. It was on me to be responsive, right? So to be in communion, to be in communication, there is a flow. It's a dialogue. This is what it means to be in communion with the light of love. It is a dance, right? It's an active relationship. To be in an active relationship with your own light, with the light of God within you. To be in an active relationship with your own goodness, with your own love, your own kindness. This is the work. And so what that looked like for me during this time was I was guided to change my diet. So I did. I was guided to cut back on some things. So I did. I was guided to keep doing other things. So I did. I was guided to rest. So I did. And let me tell you, my heart during this time period just exploded, right? Exploded with love, during one of the most challenging times I've ever experienced in my life to date, right? So responsiveness, it invites us to listen to what the moment is asking of us. That's what it means to show up. Light of love, what are you asking of me in this moment? Light of love, what are you asking of me in this moment? Light of love, what are you asking me in this moment? Right? This is the work. And it actually goes back to this intention. I vow to practice forbearance in the midst of the most adverse circumstances, knowing that all things work for the good of them that love God. I mean, we could end it right at for the good of them that love, because God and love are synonymous, right? We just put two of the same words right next to each other. We're good, right? Things work for the good. And we are love, right? For the good of those that love. So the work is always love. No matter what we walk through humanly, no matter how great the pain, no matter how great the discomfort, the hand of love is with us, right? It's with us. So forbearance is not a celebration of suffering, right? It is the gift of love. It is the gift of peace. It is the gift of knowing I'm well. I'm good. The light of love got me. I can do this. That's what it is. It's I'm well, whatever is going on. Whatever shows up, I'm good. It's the spaciousness to discern it, to know it. When anything contrary to that shows up, we are aware, hey, this is a provocation. This is an opportunity to practice forbearance. And I too offer you to the light of love. See, this world is ripe with the illusion of limitation. It's ripe with it. It's a proliferation. But when we practice forbearance, it melts. It melts. So, what I have decided to do with my time here is I'm going to love. That's what Kashi is going to do. I make that declaration. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be generous. When I get up in the morning, I'm going to say, let me love more today than I loved yesterday, even if it's just this much more. Just let me love a little bit more. I'm going to pray. Let me be purity of heart. Let me be love. That's it. Let me be love. That's the beginning, the middle, and the end. So this kind of takes us back to Purna's story when she said, instead of just watching me, how about helping me? We get to be that for ourselves and for others. Let love flow. Show up and show out. Let's help each other. We can cry out for help to the light of love inside of us and we will be helped. When we see others, we can help. Sometimes help looks like just smiling at somebody. Sometimes help looks like smiling at your own heart. Sometimes it's literally offering a helping hand. Sometimes it's just heart work. It's done silently. You just holding them in the light, wordlessly, holding yourself in the light, wordlessly, right? One of my mentors, he says, no mud, no magic. I love it. No mud, no magic. And it just brings to mind for me the image of the lotus, which is rich in the yogic tradition and Buddhism. So within each of us, there's this lotus of love, untouched by the muck of the world, if you will. We might experience pain here, but we are not the pain, okay? We might walk through the fires of life, but we will never burn. We might float on the sea, right? But we will not get wet, right? Love is indestructible. Our true nature is indestructible, right? And forbearance, patience, self-composure, what a gift that is to ourselves and to everybody that we encounter. The master teacher, Jesus, what an example of forbearance, right? On the cross, self-composed, forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? Whatever comes, our goodness is intact. Whatever comes, we're love. And the practice of forbearance helps us to recognize it in ourselves. That's the first place. Because once we see it there, we see it everywhere. So this is work that we do for ourselves. And as we move forward, we help other people to move forward as well. Amen. So at this time, we're going to open it up to receive gifts to the community. You can make a financial contribution to the community or to Swami. You'll see on your screen instructions on how to do that. I have here a prayer list, and I'm going to sit quietly with this prayer list while we open it up to the community. And so if you want to be on the prayer list, you can send that information to swami@awakeyogameditation.org. All right, swami@awakeyogameditation.org. And we'll just sit quietly for 3 minutes in this process. Okay, so now we'll recite the prayer of thanksgiving and devotion, and we'll close with the prayer of perfection. Heavenly Father, Mother God, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion. And may I be so permeated with thy love that whoever comes into my presence feels upliftment of consciousness and brightness of heart. We thank thee for the outpouring of thy grace. Amen. And the prayer of perfection. That is perfect. This is perfect. Out of that perfection emanates this perfection. In the ocean of perfection surge the waves of perfection, yet that perfection is never lost. Peace, bliss, peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So everybody's invited to join us next Friday. We start the workshop, Exploring Meditation. It's an interactive workshop. We'll discuss questions that are relatively important to us in our meditation process. We also meet every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. for meditation, and on Sundays to meditate and to listen to meditation discussion from either Swami or another leader like Acharya Primitis. So thank you guys for joining us so much. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Friday and a wonderful evening.